Welcome to the Incubate Podcast, where we feature ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
And action. Say.
The African sun is rising, the little children are crying. There's no sign of milk, no sign of food. The land has become a battlefield. There's nothing to plow, no sign of rain. Fathers and mothers abandon the child. Fathers and mothers abandon the child. Abandon the child, abandon the child. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy on the African child, on the African child. The love, Nayo, He love.
Wow. Isn't that incredible? This is totally amazing. My name is Charlton Sozo. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Incubate Podcast, telling the Eswatini story online. And today I have an amazing guest. I cannot believe the music that I've been listening to right now. And I was just all in smiles. Kabo, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming to the show. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you very much.
Great. Tell me a little bit more about, I'm just looking at the guitar first. I'm like, okay, that looks really amazing. It's got a whole lot of electronics going on there. What's the story around this guitar? And also, I mean, the way that you kind of combine it with the harmonica. It's just amazing. Please tell us a little bit more about your musical journey. How did the guitar come to be like that?
Okay, thank you very much. This guitar. Okay, I was looking for a certain guitar. I went to Joburg. First, I'm originally from Botswana, and I've relocated here on work basis. But I've brought my music as well. And when I bought the guitar, I settled for it because I couldn't find what I was looking for. So when I got home, I played it the first evening. I said, okay, all right, you're okay. But in the morning when I woke up, the first morning, I said, we need to do some work. We need to do some work on you. So I went to the kitchen, I got my bread knife and started modifying it. What you see here is these are foot pedals. I usually have them on stage on the floor. But I decided because these are small things that you easily forget them on stage, and I said, let me store them in there. And I got somebody to help me with the electronics, and I installed also an additional contact pickup here. If I do this, you'll hear the sound on the speakers. I've been learning guitar. It's a journey. I've been learning guitar for over 27 years now. I'm self-taught, both guitar, harmonica, and singing. That's me. I'm just a boy.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
You also tell quite a bit of the African story as well. You, in your music, you are from Botswana, currently living and working in Eswatini, and you sing. I was just listening to the track that you just shared with us right now about the African child. What is your inspiration around your music?
Inspiration for me comes from anywhere in anything. The song that I just played is called African Child. I remember vividly what inspired the song. The picture which apparently won an award or some awards back in the 90s. It was taken by a South African photojournalist called Kevin Carter. It's a child with a vulture behind. That picture. So I was going through I can't remember what I was looking for in my books, and I found a whole A4 full color of that scene. And I felt, no, man, we cannot have a child being that vulnerable and vulture. And the child looked weak. So I sat down and I wrote something because I was touched. There's one particular picture that comes to my mind. There's a little child there in the field, and there's a vulture waiting for the child to die. I believe some of you know the picture that I'm talking about. I don't know who took that picture, but it's the same picture that inspired me to write this song. And I wrote just a verse, and I was disturbed by a phone call. But it took time for me to finish, to get inspiration to finish. For me to finish, it came in 2013. I was just prepared to go for a German tour. So the inspiration revisited me, and I was able to complete the song. What I just played here is what I started with in the first place. But I performed it. I performed the verse, and I told my audience that this is work in progress. I'm still waiting. It will come. Wow. It's not never recorded, but
that is just incredibly amazing. Do you perform as a solo artist? Do you perform with a band? How does this work? I haven't seen too many African artists who actually do the guitar and do the harmonica at the same time.
Yeah.
You see this in the US and places like that. And it's also, not even in the past couple of years that this has been happening. This is quite unique. What has this also driven you to be doing something like this?
Okay. I play solo in different setups, but I do perform with a band. There are songs that dictate accompaniment to have somebody playing drums, and so I do have performed. I've traveled with a band. I've had a band back home called Ethno Jazz.
This is incredible, and you are an engineer by training as well.
Yes.
And how does that work? How would your parents or your family feel with you being on the guitar? Would they think this would take anything away from you studying, or yeah?
Okay. I had an uncle who had a guitar at home. He passed on, may his soul rest in peace, but he never got to know really how to play. So I wanted to sing songs, different songs, but he'd be using the same chords on every song, but it wasn't correct. But I learned on my own. Initially, parents were like, "What are you doing with this thing?" And in particular, my grandmother said, "What are you doing with this thing? You do know that this thing attracts women." But during my studies at university, my guitar was my friend. I'd be stressed with a certain module, and I'll say, I'm going to play guitar just to to relax and come back to the books. Work, same thing. I come from work, I'm tired, I pick up the guitar, I play, first, yeah. And this actually is, I don't know, meditation. It's something that I talk to silently. I thought at times not playing anything, but just strumming, and it's okay. Not necessarily singing anything or anything constructive. I feel like, yeah.
There's a lot of therapy that
That's the way therapy is therapeutic.
So these things can actually coexist. You can still study, you can still have a profession and still express yourself artistically.
Yes, for me, I take this as a God-given talent. I cannot ignore what God gave me. I do go out and share, make somebody happy, heal a soul, and we continue with living. Well, fear.
Over the past couple of years, there have been lots of discussions right across Africa about the creative economy itself, where I think there's been efforts to try and get people to appreciate, to get governments, to get policymakers to appreciate that generations of people have fed families out of music, out of art, out of creative expression and all of that. But there's still quite a bit of pushback. There's no real appreciation of the role of the arts in our economies and all of that. Where do you think our African governments are getting it wrong, and what can be done to get African governments to support the creative sector a lot more?
You know, if you see youngsters do their thing, just watch them do their thing and see what they can do. Not the negative side. Yes, there's negatives in everything, but look at them do their thing with passion. We say, if we support these kids or these youngsters financially to do what they want to do with proper structures, are we saying we cannot grow our economies with arts? I've traveled to Germany in 2013 and we went on tour. We had a couple, they were in their 80s. They followed us from the first show until the last one, appreciating. And every time we were performing, you have to pay at the door. They were doing that. And at the end of the tour, they put T-shirts. And that's money that came into our pockets. We made something for ourselves. We came back home smiling. You know, can't we be supported by governments? It wasn't easy though, because we had to travel, we had to get fares, accommodation. Yes, the government, our government, Botswana government and the German government did support us. But we can do more. The top governments can do more. Support. In terms of curriculums, I know in some other parts of Africa, music is studied from grassroots. I don't know here in Eswatini. Back home is still very slow, very slow. I started learning guitar myself. Like I'm self-taught. I struggled to get my first guitar. I started that after high school. What if I had started maybe at primary level? I can't say I know the music language fully. If you give me a score, I would have to spend a lot of time to know where I have to, where my notes are on the guitar or even on the harmonica. So honestly, I'm fiddling with harmonica. I'm just looking for notes that make sense to me and align them with what I want to do. And that's that. Yeah.
So a lot is about the inspiration, a lot is about the passion. This is essentially what drives.
Yes, I'm driven by passion. Youngsters have passion, a lot of passion. And don't hurt them by stopping them doing what they love. Let them be, let them play. Let the children play.
Yeah, that's amazing. You spoke about the guitar and attracting women. Has it been attracting women?
Yes, it does. Yes, I've seen it. I thought my grandmother just didn't want me to play guitar. I've seen it.
Okay, so I think the message there is there's a lot of, there are also vices around being artists and the popularity and trying to live up to sort of like the limelight. How do you get to manage that? I know it's not just about male artists, but it's also the same even female artists as well, young people within the creative spaces. Quite a lot of the pushback has, I think, been also around the much older generations feeling that a lot of social vices are found within the creative spaces. How do artists maintain professionalism? How do they take this as a job, and how do they also look after themselves as they are performing and expressing themselves in terms of their talent?
It really depends on an individual. Why are you doing music? What do you want to get at the end of the day? It's all upon each individual. If you are going to run with what is happening, if you find people like flocking to you, wanting things, I'll call that things, and you go with them, you'll die young. And definitely die young. And will forget about you. And would you have achieved anything? No. So it all depends on control, self-control. You just say, look, Charles, I came here to perform. I'm not here for boys or for girls. That's it. Yeah. At the end of the show, pick your guitar, go home, then you piano. So there's that.
Yeah. You also, Kabo, you get a lot of, especially the younger generation of artists, and they get a bit of money, they get a bit of fame, they start becoming unprofessional, they are not fulfilling shows, they, all those things. What do you think needs to be done to support artists to remain on the straight and narrow? Is it a management issue? Is it about, what do you think is the problem there? And how do we help African artists to remain on that pathway so that they can get to benefit a lot more from their talent, or get to give a lot more of their talent to the continent, to the world?
I think the management, because if you have management around you, these are the people that should guide you and say, you are going the wrong way. Come back. Let's focus on what we said we're doing. Also, I think at times workshopping for the youngsters to see the dangers in the spaces that they work in. It's for them to see the dangers, run away from them, be aware of them, because if you have given them that light, then somebody goes that way, then it's intentional. It's not out of knowing. Yeah. You're doing that knowing that you are getting into danger, and you went right, then you deliberately. Fame, I think it's a very nice thing. It must be a very nice thing, but use it wisely. Use it. I've seen guys mentoring other kids, the less advantaged kids, to mentor them, through their music, inspire them, and
So mentorship is also very key, even in development of one's talent. Yeah. Earlier on, you were speaking about your guitar and the amazing electronics around the guitar itself, and you're mentioning that some young men who never went to engineering school. Yes. Yeah, can you just share a little bit about
what happened? Is that some years back, I went to one pub or one bar, and there was this DJ, and in front of his desk, and he put it there for anyone to play on it. He took a tin polish. You see this floor polish? He took that. I didn't know what he had done. So you could actually go there and play like a drum. And you hear that on the speakers, and he's playing music. So this is a smart thing. But then I happened to come across one musician online on YouTube. He was playing guitar, but he was doing this. You could actually hear the sound scratching the guitar, but he had a load of pedals in front of him. And I thought, I need to do this thing, but I don't have money for pedals. What if I get a contact pickup? Okay. So I looked for him. He said, bro, I want to do this thing. He said, yeah, where should we? We agreed the following day. And we did that. It was perfect. Very, very perfect. But he didn't have volume control. Later, after my travel to Kenya, I came with a set of these. They were actually I gave away one. So I thought I should try and install this in the guitar. So we started with a delay. It was perfect. And I thought, my brother, I still have space. Can we install something? Yeah, let's install another one. And at the time when we were doing that, he told me that we're going to have a challenge with ground or S. But don't worry, we'll sort it out. It took about 2 weeks to get this right. Then when I came, it took a further 2 weeks. And then this one, he was upset that now if you come again now, we have to open the whole thing and start afresh and do the wiring on the floor and then put them inside. But I said no. This is the last one. Because I've run out of space. Here is far. Guys ask me, did you open? No, put the hand inside. Put the hand inside. Yeah, so that's that. And he took a smartphone because he's a DJ. He has come up, that phone is not a phone anymore. It's a 2-channel mixer, a DJ's mixer. And it's wireless. His name is Onkabitsuman. Yeah. He's very, 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 very talented. He's amazing on electronics. Oh, wow. He has actually made a mat. If you step here, one song plays. Step here, another song plays. Step there, it's the same song play without bass. There, without treble.
What do we do with this kind of talent, Kabo? I'm just thinking, you are a trained engineer.
Yes.
This is a young man who's not a trained engineer.
Yes.
He basically just picked it up along the way with passion, just as you also started into music. What do we do to get these youngsters to start developing African instruments or advancing African instruments to something that gives us a unique African experience in terms of our music, in terms of our art? What do you think we need to do? This guy, fortunately, you were able to connect with him and to work with him, and now you're able to tell his story to all of Africa and to the world.
Yeah.
But not so many of them are that lucky to get that sort of opportunity. What do you think we need to do?
I think we need to go out and look for such and give them the platform. Because some of them I would say they have not received enough education to know how to go about it. I know this particular gentleman, he has gone to different places trying to get, a platform to be heard. He's been to TV in Botswana, radio stations. He's traveled to South Africa trying to hear my story. It's a pity that we are not listening.
Yeah.
As a government. We're not listening. We have somebody who has a unique talent. We're not even listening to what he's saying or even looking at what he has done. Yes.
Yeah. It's really incredible. One of the things that I've also just picked up from you as well is your level of exposure. I know somebody just mentions the country that they come from. You're already picking up a key and, any of their famous musicians and stuff like that. Exposure, and I think also African collaborations among artists. What do you think of that? Do you think this is something that can enrich African music? If artists in Eswatini are collaborating with artists from Botswana, you have had some experiences with Kenya and Zimbabwe and in Europe and all of that. What do you think we need to do to get African artists to start coming together a lot more?
I think it has to start at home. Let's collaborate here at home. Let's not work in silos. Let's work together. If I play harmonica, you need a harmonica, just give me a call. I'll come and give you a harmonica in the performance or in a recording. It does not hurt. It doesn't cost a thing to share what God gave you. Share it and you'll be blessed more. That's what I can say. So in my career, my experience, I've seen guys wanting to collaborate, but then some don't know how to go about it because money is always an issue. If we have to go to the studio, what are we going to get to prepare the studio? But by the way, I need to share this. I recorded an album. I didn't pay a cent. Okay? But I paid services. I told the guys, they asked me, how much would you charge if we ask you to play guitar in one song? And I said, look, even if I say 100 pula, one song, you don't have 100 pula, we're going to fight. Let's forget about money. Let's talk about services. You have a studio. I need a studio. You need guitar. You need guitar skills and harmonica. I have those. But how do we swap value? Let's but.
Yeah, because in our African culture, we used to do a lot of barter trading.
Yes, I was not there.
Yeah.
But I've heard about it. Yes, and I said, let's barter trade. And they said, oh, that's a good idea. And that's how I put my music together. Just went, I rehearsed with my band, we went in, and in doing that, it became easy for me. I didn't have much headache. The only money that I paid was reproducing the CDs and the sleeves.
So there's need for a lot of innovation, even as we do collaboration, as we're trying to get work out there as well. Where do we exchange services? Where do we exchange value? I think this is important. I really think there's need for a whole innovative and creative regime, giving artists capacity and understanding that it's not always about money at times, because sometimes the money is just not there.
Yeah,
at times.
but we can do.
But I can still get a lot of work done, yeah. I know you've recently also just started rocking the Eswatini scene. How do you compare your experiences in Eswatini and in Botswana? What do you like about the Eswatini entertainment scene so far? What have you seen? And when you reflect on Botswana?
The venue that I did this week, I once performed there in 2015. It was warm. It was warm. The audience was warm. But the experience now, it's not warm. It's hot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The audience felt me. I was supposed to have two guys accompany me. One on piano or keyboard and the other one on percussions. But unfortunately, they were engaged elsewhere. And I told them, don't worry, I'll go on stage alone. And as a newbie, if you're new, you don't know what kind of response to expect from the audience. But I was bold enough to do what I had to do, and they felt me. I was supposed to do 2 songs. I did them nicely and perfectly. And at the end of 2 songs, I have to leave the stage, and we won 4. We won.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I had to come back. I experienced something. I don't know what you call it. My sister, my friend, said, no, that's a trance. You're in a trance. I think that's it. When she said that, I remember what was happening to me. It was like electricity. Even my strumming was not the same. Yeah. So I felt the energy in the room, and everybody enjoyed my performance. Everybody enjoyed. Everybody. And I'm happy that people were holding their phones up, and I missed my performance myself. I was not there. I was on stage. I needed to be within the audience and watch myself. But luckily, through the clips that people captured, I was able to see what I was doing.
Wow. So it's quite a lot of spirituality also.
I've never experienced that. Okay, I've experienced that once. We were preparing to go to Germany. On stage, I felt like tears just coming into my ears. My eyes was like, what is this? Are you going to cry now? You're on stage. So that's there is spirituality that sometimes we don't understand.
It's true. And I think our music also plays a very key role in telling our stories, in telling the African stories. I know you're also very passionate about telling the African story from the African perspective. Yes, I like the way you say, yes, our way. And I think our music, our performances, they give us this particular opportunity, isn't it? The song that you just did as we're getting started was really speaking about children, about the rights of children and all of that. Where do you see also the role of artists in when you look at some of the challenges that we're having within the continent right now? We still have struggles around poverty issues. We still have struggles now with climate change, all these changes that are coming on, COVID-19, economies are not doing so well. And what do you think artists can also do in terms of amplifying the voices around? Because you guys have an audience, you guys have a cross-cutting audience. So as artists, you guys are uniters, and everybody listens to you as you entertain. But, we are also learning from you guys. As we look at the new challenges Africa has, what do you think is the role of art in education, in raising awareness, in calls to action and all of that?
Yes, I've come across, I know there's what you call edutainment. That should continue happening. Let's do that to entertain. But in the entertain, let's teach while we're entertaining. It is nice. It's nice to see somebody performing. But through us as artists, because we stand in front of people, we attract people, let's share a message. Let's workshop kids. If somebody knows how to make African instruments, do that. I do have friends that do that, and they're very passionate about starting something. Music, anything can make a music instrument, anything. So show them that let's make this instruments. Let's go on stage and perform with this. They might look funny or whatsoever, but let's go and make music. Let people come here and listen to us using this, even from waste. You take a can of oil, you make a guitar. We can let what we have. You don't necessarily need to have something produced in the factory. Something is waste. I keep reminding myself, reduce 3 R's. Reduce,
Recycle.
reuse, recycle, reduce. You see, there are some, even earrings. Some do make earrings from waste, from bottle caps. I've seen necklaces, very beautiful, covered with some cloth, and it's beautiful. So we have the resources. The resources, what has been thrown away, you can get something. Make it, put it to use again. So there's a lot that we can do, especially at grassroots. Kids are easy to. They like playing.
Well, that's it for now. If you've been enjoying this edition of the Incubate podcast, please subscribe and like. You get a notification on the second part.